Welcome, dear listener, to Whispers of the Night. Tonight, we'll drift into a gentle tale, a story woven with still waters, a silver moon, and the quiet grace of a swan. This is a time just for you to slow down, to soften, to set aside the busyness of your day as you listen. You might notice your breath already becoming slower, your shoulders loosening as they let go of the weight they've been holding. Allow yourself to sink into comfort, perhaps lying down or sitting in a quiet, cozy place. Know that nothing is required of you here, only to listen and drift. The story you're about to hear is called The Swan and the Silver Moon. It's a journey through water and reflection, through silence and light, a lullaby of science and poetry meant to guide you deeper into rest. So now, let's step softly into the night together, where the silver glow of the moon waits to meet us. Before the story begins, let us pause and let the body and mind prepare for rest. Close your eyes if you haven't already, and feel the surface beneath you supporting your weight completely. There is nowhere to go, nothing to do, just this moment. Notice your breath, cool air flowing in through the nose, warm air drifting softly back out. Inhale and exhale like gentle waves washing upon the shore. With each breath, imagine the lake at night, smooth, quiet, silver with moonlight. As you breathe in, the water glows softly. As you breathe out, the ripples spread, carrying away all that you no longer need. Feel your body growing heavier, yet lighter in spirit, your arms resting easily. If thoughts wander, let them drift like tiny boats upon the water, carried away without effort. You are simply here, breathing, resting, floating in calm. The world around you grows quiet. Even time seems slower, more tender. And now, as your breathing deepens, imagine the swan itself drifting upon the water, smooth, effortless, graceful, each movement aligned with the stillness of night. Let yourself move with that swan calm, unhurried and free. In this state of ease, your mind is open and gentle, ready to follow the silver path of the moonlight. And so, in this softened state, we begin our story. The Swan and the Silver Moon. A sheet of silver glass. You stand at the edge of a quiet lake where evening gathers slowly, the last rays of sunlight folding themselves into the shadows of the trees. The water is still, so still, it looks like glass, smooth and unbroken. as if time itself has chosen to pause here. You breathe in deeply, and the air tastes faintly of pine and damp stone, the cooling fragrance of a day that has slipped into rest. The first thing you notice is the silence, not the silence of emptiness, but the silence of balance, of frogs settling into their patient rhythm, of insects stitching the twilight with soft wings, of reeds bending and whispering with no urgency at all. The lake holds all these sounds, swallowing them into its surface until they blur into something that feels less like sound and more like a hum. On the water drifts a single swan, its feathers, pale as snow even in the dimming light, gather the last glimmers of sunset, then surrender them as the sky fades. Each stroke of its neck, each careful glide of its body is deliberate and unhurried, as though the bird knows that the lake is listening, and that each movement is part of a much older story. You feel your breath follow the swan's rhythm. Inhale as it glides forward. Exhale as ripples bloom and soften behind it. Breathing this way, you find your body loosening, your thoughts spreading wider, like the ripples across the lake above you. Twilight deepens into something more mysterious. The sky shades itself into lavender and indigo, hues that painters once called the blue hour. This is the time when human eyes begin to shift, when the rods in your retina, more sensitive than the cones that see color, awaken to guide you into night. It is not just darkness you enter, but a different way of seeing, shadows sharpening, outlines dissolving, contrasts blooming where bright daylight had washed them away. The lake mirrors all of this. The fading colors stretch across its glassy surface, a canvas of shifting hues, as if the sky has spilled itself downward. Lakes have always been mirrors. You think mirrors for sky, for stars, and for us. Ancient people saw them not just as water, but as doors. In Finnish mythology, lakes were believed to be pathways to the spirit world. In Japan, the still surface of a pond was thought to reveal unseen realms when the veil between worlds grew thin. And in your quiet watching now, you can feel why the surface is so calm. It could be the threshold of another world, one you could almost step into if you were brave enough to break the water. The swan tilts its head as though aware of your thoughts. Its long neck curves into an elegant question mark, the kind only silence can answer. Swans have always carried questions with them, haven't they? Questions of beauty, of loyalty, of transformation. The Greeks told of Zeus taking the form of a swan of Leda, bearing children who would one day shape myths themselves. In Celtic tales, swans were messengers between worlds, their wings carrying songs from the other world into human hearts. And even today, in biology, the swan teaches us of devotion, for many pairs remain bonded for life. Their seasonal migrations, a testament to loyalty across distance. As the bird drifts closer, the light changes again. From behind the far hills, the moon begins to rise. At first, it is shy, a silver edge above the horizon, but slowly, with the patience of celestial rhythm, it reveals its full face. The lake responds at once, its glass surface now filled with a trembling oval of light, a silver ink that bleeds and reforms with every ripple. You watch how the swan passes through the reflection, its body cutting through the silver, distorting the perfect circle into arcs and waves. And still the moon reforms, patient and whole, waiting for stillness to return. It is a gentle reminder of how reflections work, of how light bends and dances. What you see on the lake is not the moon itself, but its story carried by photons that left the lunar surface over a second ago, racing across space, striking water, bouncing upward into your eyes. Every glimmer, every tremble of silver is the journey of light retold, an echo of the cosmos brought to this small, still place. The lake is more than a mirror. It is a lens of memory, holding within it the history of water. All lakes are ancient in their own way, carved by ice, fed by rain, sustained by rivers. Some are so old they carry sediments from ages before humans walked the earth. In these sediments are tiny fossils, grains of pollen, whispers of climate, and season layered one upon the other, recording centuries in silence. When scientists take samples, they are reading a diary the lake has kept for millennia. And you, sitting here, are part of its latest entry, breathing into its quiet, letting your reflection merge with the swan and the moon. The swan turns again, its wings spreading slightly, and you hear the faintest brush of air. You think about feather show. Each one is a masterpiece of design. The barbs and hooks interlock, creating a surface both strong and soft, a surface that can slice through air with precision. Flight itself is not just beauty, but physics, the balance of lift and drag, the shaping of hollow bones and powerful muscles. Yet, in this moment, watching the swan, the science folds back into poetry. It feels less like mechanics and more like grace. The moon climbs higher now, and its silver deepens. Around its glow, the stars begin to pierce the indigo, one by one. You remember that lakes, especially still ones, have been used by astronomers to test their instruments. In ancient times, before telescopes were polished to perfection, water was sometimes used as a reflecting surface to steady the gaze of the heavens. Nature's mirror became the astronomer's tool, a quiet ally in the pursuit of understanding. You lean closer to the water, and your own reflection joins the swan's. For a moment, you imagine slipping into that other world, one below the surface, where the moon swims and swans glide through silver air. The idea drifts through your mind like a dream, not quite formed, not quite gone. The swan circles once more, and then drifts toward the reeds at the far edge of the lake, where shadows gather like folded wings. Its presence lingers even as it fades, as if it has left something behind for you to carry, a reminder of patience, of silence, of the way water and sky hold each other. The lake remains, a sheet of silver glass, trembling with the quiet breath of night. And you, still watching, feel your thoughts slow to the same rhythm, your mind resting in the spaces between ripples, between breaths. The moon glows brighter, as if leaning closer, as if it has more to say. And in that silver whisper, you begin to wonder what might happen if you listened closely enough to hear the moon itself speak. The moon's whisper. The night around you deepens, stretching like a velvet fabric across the sky. The last warmth of day has dissolved into the lake, and the surface, once brushed by the pinks of dusk, now holds the calm silver of moonlight. You drift with the swan, your breath rising and falling like the soft rhythm of its wings folded close. The air is cool, and in this stillness you begin to hear something subtle, a murmur, not quite sound, not quite silence. It is the moon speaking, of course. The moon does not form words the way you or I might. Its voice arrives differently, woven through the gleam of light on water, the pale sheen on leaves, the faint shadow it paints behind every stone. The swan lifts its head as if listening, and you realize you too are drawn into that same quiet attention. The moon is whispering, and you are being invited to listen. The voice feels timeless, as though it has always been there, murmuring to oceans, to deserts, to the mountains that stood long before the first bird flew. You lean closer into this dreamlike space, curious to know what it might be saying. The whisper speaks in silver. That light itself is a kind of story. You think of how the moon glows, not from within, but from what it receives. The sunlight, far away, strikes its dusty surface and reflects back, softened into something gentler, cooler, more restful than the burning fire of day. The moon is, in truth, a mirror, and yet, when you gaze up at it, it feels more than a reflection. It feels alive. Perhaps that is part of its secret, that to carry light is also to transform it, to cradle fire into lullaby. The swan drifts across the lake, its path marked by a silver ribbon that unspools behind it. Every ripple becomes a syllable, every glimmer a note in the moon's quiet speech. You are reminded that long ago, before clocks or compasses, people leaned on this voice to find their way. Sailors charted their courses by the moon. Travelers measured the passing months. Farmers read its cycles as guidance for planting and harvest. The moon was more than light in the sky. It was a whisper of time itself. The moon continues, its voice soft, steady, reminding you of tides. You imagine the great sweep of oceans, their waters rising and falling not only with the wind, but with the pull of this pale companion in the sky. The gravity of the moon reaches across space, tugging gently at Earth's seas, lifting them as if in breath, then letting them fall. Twice each day, the oceans inhale and exhale, responding to a whisper you can't hear but can feel in every shoreline curve. You picture waves folding and unfolding, as if bowing to the moon. The swan glides nearer the reeds, where the shadows stretch longer, and you begin to think about how shadows themselves are part of the moon's language. A full moon washes the world in clarity, soft as lantern light. A crescent moon leaves more darkness than glow, a pause between words, and a new moon, when it hides completely, offers silence, a dark page upon which stars are allowed to speak more brightly. Each phase is a syllable, a rhythm in the whispering pattern. It is not a single voice, but a conversation between brightness and absence, presence and retreat. You lean into this rhythm, finding comfort in its predictability. Unlike the sun, which commands the sky with unwavering blaze. The moon is changeable. It waxes, wanes, grows, and fades, and yet it returns. Always. Perhaps that is its deepest whisper, that cycles are not endings but returns, that even in darkness, something waits to grow full again. The swan seems to understand, for it circles back across the water, its neck curved like a crescent itself. Your eyes grow heavy, but the moon continues to unfold its stories. It tells of craters, vast and ancient, carved by the strike of meteorites, long before humankind first gazed upward. Each hollow is a memory, a scar that does not fade. And yet these scars reflect light beautifully, scattering it in directions that create the moon's familiar glow. Imperfections, too, can become luminous. The swan's feathers ripple as if in agreement, catching fragments of moonlight across its back. The moon whispers also of distance, how it drifts ever so slowly, away from Earth, a few centimeters each year, like a friend walking gently backward. And yet, even as it retreats, its pull remains. It has not left, and will not, for millions upon millions of years. This slow drift is part of its story, part of its patient rhythm. You realize that listening to the moon is listening to time stretched out beyond the scale of your own life. It reminds you that patience is natural, that slowness is the pace of the cosmos. The lake holds all of this in its silver bowl, and you, like the swan, are both afloat and embraced. The reeds sway softly, and you hear again that the moon's whisper is not confined to oceans or craters or calendars. It is also within you. Your own body carries water that moves subtly with its pull. The tides are mirrored inside your cells, in the rhythms of your heart, in the ebb and flow of your breath. You are not separate from the moon's story. You are written within it. The swan dips its head into the water, drawing circles that widen outward, each ripple reaching farther than the last. So too does the moon's whisper ripple into every life that looks upward. Lovers once exchanged vows beneath its glow. Poets shaped verses by its phases. Storytellers spun myths of gods and guardians who lived in its light. You imagine those tales of rabbits pounding rice in lunar palaces, of silver goddesses who guide the night, and you realize that humans have always longed to listen. The whisper is not only science, not only reflection, but imagination as well. Time seems suspended. The swan, the water, the reeds, the very air around you all are stilled by the presence of this silver voice. You sense that the moon is not only telling you what is, but inviting you to dream of what might be. Its whisper is both knowledge and lullaby, reminding you that truth can be gentle, that learning can feel like drifting toward sleep. The swan folds its wings closer, and you close your eyes for a moment, feeling the lake cradle you. The moon continues to whisper, not needing your reply, only your attention. Its voice is steady, patient, as though it has been speaking long before you arrived and will continue long after. You rest in this continuity, soothed by the idea that something so vast can also be so tender. And yet, even in this peace, the whisper begins to shift. The The silver words you hear now carry a hint of something deeper, not only reflection, not only tides, but mystery. The moon seems to be saying there is more to its story, more than light and gravity, more than cycles and distance. The swan, too, seems to sense it, for its gaze lifts from the water to the stars beyond, as if waiting for another voice to join. The moon's whisper softens, becoming less distinct, as though passing the story onward. Its glow still lingers across the lake, but the focus drifts upward into the darker sky where stars pulse faintly. You are left with a question hovering in the air like breath. If the moon can whisper, then what might the stars themselves sing? Feathers of starlight. The swan stirs, its long neck arching as though it hears a call beyond the lake. Slowly, it unfurls its wings. You watch as feather after feather catches the moonlight, until the bird seems less like a creature of water and more like a fragment of the night sky itself. Its plumage glimmers with shifting silver, each movement scattering light as though stars have slipped from their constellations to rest upon its back. And then you notice something astonishing. The feathers do not merely reflect the sky above, they seem to converse with it. For every flicker of light along the swan's wings, a star glimmers in reply. The heavens mirror the earth, and the lake mirrors the heavens, until all boundaries blur. You are left with a sensation that the swan is not simply rising from the water, but lifting you into the fabric of starlight itself. You tilt your gaze upward, and the night sky unfurls like an ancient scroll. It is vast, immeasurable, yet strangely intimate. Stars burn across its darkness, each one carrying a story that has traveled unfathomable distances to meet your eyes. You realize that when you look at the stars, you are not seeing them as they are, but as they were. Their light is old, sometimes unimaginably so. A star may shimmer above you tonight, though in truth it ceased burning thousands or even millions of years ago. Its final whisper of light has only now reached you. You are listening to history, woven in silver threads across the sky. The swan beats its wings, sending ripples of moonlit water outward, and you sense the slow heartbeat of the cosmos echoing within. Scientists tell us that stars are born from clouds of dust and gas, immense nurseries of hydrogen drifting quietly in the dark. Gravity, patient and unyielding, draws the particles together until their cores ignite in fusion. What begins as cold darkness becomes fire, and from fire comes light. This light travels, crossing the emptiness until it touches eyes, wings, and waters like these. Each feather of the swan seems to hold this journey as though stitched by the memory of a star's birth. You breathe deeply, and the air feels touched by starlight too. You remember that the atoms in your body, the oxygen you inhale, the calcium in your bones, the iron in your blood, all were forged in the hearts of stars long ago. When massive stars reach the end of their lives, they collapse, then explode in brilliance, scattering their elements through the universe. Those scattered fragments gathered again across time to form new worlds, new oceans, new creatures, and you. The whisper of the moon now deepens into the resonance of stars, reminding you that you are not separate from this vastness. You carry starlight in your veins. The swan glides upward, wings barely disturbing the night air, and you imagine the patterns of stars shifting around it. Constellations, once fixed, seem to bend and weave in the rhythm of its flight. Ancient civilizations once traced their own stories here. They looked at these same points of light and drew animals, hunters, queens, and ships. The stars became maps, myths, and companions on journeys across seas and deserts. When you gaze upward, you are sharing in that same act of wonder, the same conversation between human imagination and the quiet language of the cosmos. The swan banks slightly in the lake below turns into a mirror of the Milky Way. You see it clearly now, that hazy band of light stretching across the sky, so delicate yet so immense. It is not a single path of brightness, but the combined glow of billions of stars clustered together in the spiral arms of our galaxy. To your eyes, it looks like a river flowing endlessly. To astronomers, it is home, a galaxy containing not only our sun, but countless others, each with their own planets, perhaps even with their own listeners gazing skyward. You feel small, but not in a way that diminishes you. Rather, it is a peaceful smallness, the comfort of being a single note within a boundless song. The swan dips lower, grazing the surface with its wings, and for a moment you imagine you too are flying across the fabric of night. The stars above stretch into patterns of rhythm and breath. They remind you that light does not simply shine, it travels. Some of the light you see tonight has been journeying across the universe for millions of years, only to arrive precisely now, precisely here, into your waiting gaze. The patience of that journey humbles you. The swan's flight feels like an echo of that same patience, slow, steady, assured, and still. The stars speak more. Their colors are whispers of their age and heat. Young stars burn blue and fierce. Older stars glow red and gentle, and in between are golden suns like your own. The universe is filled with these variations, each one a flame at a different point in its life. Together, they create a spectrum of existence, a chorus of light. In many tones, the swan's feathers shimmer in shades of silver, but within their sheen you sense that same diversity, a reminder that beauty lies in multiplicity, in the shared glow of differences. You drift further into quiet thought, the rhythm of the swans, wings lulling you. Stars live long lives, some spanning billions of years, yet even they must one day fade. Some collapse into dense remnants, white dwarfs, neutron stars, or black holes, silent keepers of gravity. And yet, even in their endings, they contribute to new beginnings. The cycle repeats, endless and steady, just as the moon whispered before. Nothing is lost. It is only transformed. This, too, feels like a feather of starlight resting gently in your hand, fragile, luminous, eternal in its message. The swan turns its head, eyes glinting, and you feel that it, too, knows these truths. It is a creature of the earth, yet tonight it seems to belong equally to the sky. Its wings rise and fall with the tempo of constellations. Its feathers scatter light like meteors crossing the heavens. Its body rests upon the lake, and yet its spirit seems carried by galaxies. In watching it, you realize there is no real division between land and sky, between water and star, between yourself and the universe. All are reflections of one another, shimmering endlessly. The night grows deeper, and the stars above multiply. In number, their light sharper against the dark. You sink further into stillness, the swan's slow movements guiding you into the rhythm of rest. The constellations weave around you like a lullaby, reminding you that even in vastness there is belonging. You are not adrift. You are cradled in a net of light spun across eternity. The swan lowers its wings, settling once more into the embrace of the lake. The ripples expand outward, circles within circles, carrying starlight across the surface. You breathe in, breathe out, and the stars seem to breathe with you, their glimmers pulsing gently, like a heartbeat far beyond your own. And then, just as your eyes begin to close, you notice something subtle. Between the brightest stars, there are spaces, patches of darkness where the sky appears empty. Yet these voids, to hold mysteries, invisible forces, hidden galaxies, clouds of dust and gas, all waiting in the quiet shadows. The swan's feathers fold in silence, and the night seems to lean closer, as if asking you to wonder if stars are the feathers of the sky. Then what secrets are hidden in the darkness between their light? The journey across silver waters. The lake lies still, a mirror holding the sky in its arms. The swan presses gently against the water, its wings tucked close, its body a vessel drifting through silver. Tonight, the journey feels different. No longer is the swan content to linger among reeds or circle the familiar shallows. The moon calls, its glow stretching across the surface in a luminous trail, like a road laid down for wanderers of water and dream. Slowly, you find yourself joining in the swan's resolve, leaning forward into the motion, ready to follow wherever the light may lead. The water parts softly, each stroke of the swan's feet drawing ripples that spread outward. These ripples are not just disturbances in the surface, they are pathways. You watch how one ripple folds into another, how circles expand, overlap, and vanish, only to be born again. This is the language of water, movement, repetition, renewal. As you drift with the swan, you realize that the journey is not only forward, but outward, touching the unseen shores of the lake. With every spreading wave, you listen. The night is full of delicate sound, the faint sigh of wind against the trees, the occasional rustle of unseen creatures along the bank, the soft lapping of water against feather. Beneath these sounds lies another rhythm, subtler still the whisper of the moon guiding the swan's path. Its reflection does not stay fixed, but shifts with each ripple, each current, reminding you that guidance is never rigid, but alive, flexible, ever-changing. The silver road ahead is wide, but it is not empty. Shadows weave across the trail, shapes cast by branches, drifting clouds, and the swan itself. At first, you think of shadows as obstacles, breaking the path, but as you look longer, you begin to see them differently. Shadows are not the absence of light, but companions to it. They hold mystery, texture, the soft reminder that even guidance requires contrast. Without shadow, light loses its depth. Without silence, music cannot breathe. The swan glides through both silver and shadow, and the journey feels whole. You remember how explorers once followed trails of light across seas far vaster than this lake. Long before maps were drawn, sailors set their course by stars and by the moon's steady glow. To them, the night sky was not a ceiling, but a compass. Every star was a point of direction, every rising and setting of the moon a clock, every shadow on the waves a marker of distance traveled. Just as the swan moves across the lake, so too did entire ships cross oceans, guided not by roads of stone, but by paths of light upon water. The swan's neck arcs gracefully as it leans into the glow. You notice how the light shimmers differently with each movement of water. Sometimes it looks like a ribbon of pure silver, unbroken and smooth. At other times, the wind ruffles the surface, scattering the reflection into fragments, as if the road ahead has split into countless shimmering pieces. Yet still, the swan glides forward, untroubled. You realize that journeys are often like this. Sometimes the path is clear, sometimes scattered, yet always it is there, waiting for trust to carry you onward. The lake itself becomes a teacher. Its surface reflects the sky, but it also hides worlds beneath. You imagine the depths below, the swanfish drifting through pockets of cool darkness, plants swaying with hidden currents, stones resting silently at the bottom. The moon's light does not reach here, and yet life continues, thriving in the unseen. You think of how on Earth countless realms exist beyond human sight, deep oceans, hidden caves, even the microscopic worlds within a single drop of water. Each ripple above holds secrets below. Each shadow a reminder that unseen worlds share this same space. You breathe slowly, in rhythm with the swan's strokes. You feel how the water seems endless, though you know it is only a lake. Vastness, you realize, is not only measured by distance, but by perception. When you open your senses to the night, the stars, the moon, the rippling silver, the lake becomes as boundless as any sea. Perhaps this is the quiet lesson of the journey, that wonder does not require far horizons, only the willingness to see depth in what lies before you. The swan glides on, tireless, its movements precise and unhurried. You notice how the moonlight clings to its feathers, as though guiding and guided are not separate but one. You feel the same, that the road you follow is not only outside of you, but within. The glow of direction shines in your breath, your heartbeat, your very presence on the water. The journey across silver waters is not a crossing to somewhere else, but a deeper arrival into what is already here. You think of other travelers far above this quiet lake. Astronauts orbiting Earth see a similar glow, the silver curve of oceans under moonlight, the fragile shimmer of atmosphere. To them, our planet itself becomes a lake suspended in the dark, its waters a glistening trail through the cosmos. They too follow silver paths, guided by reflections, shadows, and the patient rhythm of orbits. The swan's journey, your journey, their journey, all are ripples upon the same cosmic water. The night grows deeper, stars sharpen their glow, and the moon tilts higher, stretching its reflection farther across the lake. The swan follows without hesitation, and you follow too, your mind quiet, your body floating in rhythm. Time loses its edges. Minutes blur into ripples, hours into light, and you feel that the journey itself is timeless, infinite in its unfolding. Yet, there is something else in the air, a sense of approaching discovery. The further the swan moves, the more you feel the lake changing. The air grows cooler, the shadows longer, the silence deeper. It is as though the silver road is not merely guiding you across the water, but toward something unseen, a threshold. Between the known and the hidden, the swan slows, lifting its head. Its eyes catch the moonlight, reflecting not only silver, but something darker, more secret. You sense that beyond this glowing trail lies another mystery, one that is not written in reflection, but in the spaces between. The lake is wide, but the sky is wider still. The swan drifts at the edge of something vast, pausing as if to ask, what lies beyond the silver path, in the darkness where light does not reach? The moon's gift. At last, the swan drifts into the center of the lake. The water beneath it lies deep and still, a vast mirror polished smooth by silence. Above, the moon hangs at its highest, pouring its silver across the surface in an unbroken path, waiting to be revealed. The swan pauses, its feathers shimmer, its dark eyes lift toward the sky. The moon seems to notice, leaning closer, its light thickening like a veil drawn downward. For a long breath, lake, bird, and sky exist in perfect stillness. Then the light deepens, gathers, and condenses into something smaller, a single drop, a tear of silver. It falls, not with sound, but with silence, descending gently until it touches the swan. You see it land upon its chest, where it glows softly, sinking into the plumage as though it belongs there. This is the moon's gift. It is not treasure, nor burden, but something quieter, subtler. The gift is light, yet more than light. It is memory, connection, a thread tying earth to sky. You feel it radiate through the swan, and somehow through yourself as well. The moon is saying, in its wordless way, that every journey deserves remembrance, that every traveler carries within them a fragment of the places they have touched. You close your eyes and listen. the gift begins to whisper its truths. The first truth is that light itself can be held, stored, remembered, not only in reflections or shadows, but in more lasting forms. Plants do this each day, capturing sunlight within their leaves, weaving it into sugars, storing the fire of stars in their quiet green bodies. Animals to carry this stored light when they feed, transforming it again into motion, warmth, life. Even your own body is a vessel of ancient radiance, the energy of sun and star carried forward with each breath. The gift deepens. You think of how humans once sought to capture the moon's glow in stories, myths, and symbols. Poets wrote of lovers exchanging moonlight as a token of eternal bond. Artists painted halos of silver around figures of reverence. Ancient calendars carved its phases into stone so that no one would forget the rhythm of time. These were all attempts to hold what is fleeting, to take the light that drifts across water and sky and anchor it into memory. The swan's gift feels like a continuation of this, a tear of silver that says, "This night will not be lost." The swan shifts slightly, its feathers glowing from within. You wonder if perhaps this gift is not meant only for the swan, but for you as well. In your heart, you feel the reminder that memory is not simply looking back, it is carrying forward. The moon's gift is the power to belong, to know that your place in the universe is not temporary drift, but connection to something vast and ongoing. You breathe slowly, the air cool against your skin, and you sense how the gift speaks in science, as well as in symbol. Light itself, you recall, is not only brightness, but information. Each beam carries messages from its source, the temperature of a star, the dust it has passed through, the chemical fingerprints of its origin. Astronomers have learned to read this language, pulling secrets from the faintest glimmers. In the same way, memory is a light you carry, each experience a ray imprinted with where you have been, what you have seen, what you have loved. The moon's gift, then, is a reminder that nothing luminous is ever truly lost. The swan glides again, testing the new glow upon its chest. With each movement, the water brightens, as if the gift is not only held, but shared. Ripples fan outward, and wherever they travel, the lake seems to shine a little brighter. You feel comfort in this, that gifts are not meant to be locked away, but to flow, to ripple outward, to touch shores you may never see. You think again of tides, the moon's quiet influence on oceans vast and unseen. Perhaps this gift is of the same nature, a pull, a rhythm, a reminder that you are moved not only by your own will, but by the gravity of connection. Your life, like the tide, is shaped by forces beyond your sight, love, memory, belonging, all tugging at you gently, guiding you toward places you might not have reached alone. The moon leans back now, returning to its steady watch. Its gift remains with the swan, but its meaning lingers in the air, in the lake, in you. The world feels different, as though infused with a deeper softness, a slower glow. You realize that every night is a gift, every moonrise a tear of silver waiting to be received. The swan has shown you that the act of receiving is not about possession, but about openness. willingness to let the world's quiet wonders settle into your heart. The swan rests, floating gently. Its eyes close for a moment, but the gift continues to glow as though memory itself does not sleep. You, too, feel your own eyes heavy, but your thoughts drift peacefully, knowing that what you have seen tonight will not vanish when you dream. It has been placed within you the way the moon placed its tear upon the swan. You carry it now, the shimmer of silver waters, the murmur of ripples, the hush of starlight. And yet, even as you sink into this calm, another thought stirs. If the moon can give such a gift, then what of the stars? They too must hold their own offerings, fragments of brilliance, stories traveling for millions of years, waiting to be received. Perhaps the next part of the journey is not across water, but upward, into the scattered fields of firelight above. The swan lifts its head, as though it has heard this thought. The glow on its chest shines softly, steady as a lantern. Its wings shift, readying again. You sense that the gift is not an ending, but an opening, a key that unlocks the next horizon. And as you breathe out long and slow, you feel the question, forming gently within the quiet night. If the moon can give light as memory, what gifts lie waiting in the ancient fires of the stars? Dawn's gentle return. As the first pale threads of dawn rise, the swan returns to still waters. The moon fades, but the gift remains, silver glow within the swan's heart. The lake mirrors the morning sky, soft as brushed silk, shifting with color. Though the night has passed, the bond between swan and moon lingers forever. Dawn comes slowly, as though the sky itself takes a long breath before speaking. You sit with the swan at the center of the lake, and around you the water holds the hush of night, reluctant to let it go. A faint line of gray brushes the horizon, then deepens into rose, into amber, into the gentlest blue. The moon is still, there fading but not gone, a pale coin in the sky, like a memory that refuses to disappear when morning insists on waking. The swan floats quietly, its wings folded close. Its feathers, which glowed with silver just moments ago, now soften to a muted white. Yet the glow does not vitiate, lingers, hidden within, like a lantern lit in the chest. You can almost feel it yourself, as though the gift of the moon has been shared between bird and watcher, between silence and breath. Dawn is not only the return of light, it is the earth's reminder that time moves in circles, never in straight lines. The sun rises not because it begins a journey, but because the earth tilts and turns, carrying you toward the day. This rotation is steady, ancient, and tender, hours to turn once, day into night, night into day. You do not feel the spin, and yet here it is, giving rhythm to the world, setting the stage for the gentle return of dawn. You notice how the lake responds. In the night, its surface was dark, like polished obsidian. Now, it begins to brighten. First, a shimmer of pink, then a wash of gold, then a reflection of the pale sky above. The water is not only a mirror, it is an artist painting with the palette the heavens provide. Each moment it shifts, so subtle that you cannot see the change until you look again and realize that the whole canvas has transformed. The swan dips its beak into the water, ripples spilling outward. The circles expand, carrying the reflected sky across their arcs. For a moment you wondered, does the water hold to heavens now, the one above and the one within? Science would say that what you see is simple reflection, photons bouncing, angles of light, obeying their rules. Yet in this quiet morning, it feels like something more. It feels like the sky trusts the lake enough to give it a copy of itself, so that even when you look down, you are still looking up. The gift of the moon still glows within the swan, but now it is joined by the light of the sun. Silver becomes golden, cold light blends with warmth. You remember that moonlight itself is borrowed, a soft echo of the sun's fire. At night, the moon gathers the sun's rays and reflects them back, gentled and quieted. It is not false light, but translated light. Perhaps this is why it feels so combicus. The moon takes the fierce blaze of the star and makes it tender enough for dreaming. And now, as the sun begins to rise, the swan carries both translation, silver gift of night, and the golden warmth of morning. You watch it glide slowly across the water, as if it is stitching the two worlds together with each movement. Night is not gone, you realize. It has simply folded into day, hiding in shadows, waiting for its time to bloom again. You think of the way humans have long marked dawn's moment. The first light touches the horizon. The instant stars grow faint. Ancient people watched it carefully, for it told them when to rise, when to work, when to pray. Dawn was never just the start of a day. It was a promise, proof that night would always give way to morning. In some cultures, they sang to the sun as it rose. In others, they burned fires, believing their flames called the dawn closer. Always, it was a ritual of hope, a reminder that darkness is never final. Here, in the quiet with the swan, you feel the truth of that ritual. The night was deep and silver and full of secrets. Yet dawn has come anyway, gentle and slow, unfolding like the petals of a flower that takes hours to bloom. You cannot rush it, you cannot hold it back. It moves in its own time, steady as the earth's turn. The lake shivers with a breeze, carrying the coolness of night even as the air begins to warm. You breathe it in, the mingling of cold and warmth, darkness and light. The body recognizes this momentum is why you often wake at dawn without knowing why. Your circadian rhythm, that hidden clock within you, listens to the slow increase of light, the fading of melatonin, the quiet call of morning. Even without opening your eyes, you know the day is beginning. Dawn speaks to you on a level deeper than words. The swan lifts its wings, stretching them wide. For a heartbeat, it looks as though it might take flight, rising toward the pale sky, where the last trace of the moon hovers, but it settles again, gliding instead toward the reeds at the edge of the lake. Its movement is unhurried, serene, as if it knows there is no need to rush. Dawn will continue with or without speed. You follow it with your gaze, noticing how the lake reflects its path. The swan's reflection is doubled, a bird above, a bird below. Both move as one, yet both are slightly different. The ripples blur the image, but the essence remains. Perhaps this is what the moon's gift is truly about, not holding light, but carrying reflection. A reminder that every being is both itself and its mirror, both the swan gliding across the lake and the light shimmering beneath it. The sun climbs higher, shadows begin to shorten. The sky shifts toward brightness, though still soft, still wrapped. In the hush of early morning, the silver glow in the swan's heart does not fade, it blends, becoming something new, a harmony of moon and sun. The gift was not only for the night, but for every moment that follows. You rest in this awareness that dawn is not an ending, but a joining, that night and day are not enemies, but partners, passing a thread from one hand to the other, that the swan carries both lights, both truths, as it returns to the quiet edges of its lake. And as you watch, you realize that you, too, carry both. Within you is the glow of night dreams, memories, reflections, and within you is the warmth of day clarity, action, awakening. They do not cancel each other. They meet as dawn meets horizon, as moonlight meets sunlight, as silver meets gold. The swan drifts into the reeds. The lake grows brighter. The world prepares to awaken fully. Yet for you, in this moment, there is no need to hurry. You can linger in the space between, where night still whispers and day only just begins. Perhaps tomorrow will bring another gift. Perhaps the sky, in its endless generosity, will reveal something more. And as the sun steadies in the sky, you wonder what other gifts does the world hold, waiting in silence, hidden in light, patient for discovery in the chapters yet to come. And so the swan returns, carrying the moon's silver glow within its heart. May you too carry this calm, even as you drift into dreams. From all of us here at Whispers of the Night,